Okay, we are recording this meeting so that we can post it on YouTube for our partners that would like to have been able to attend but are unavailable at this time. So we hope to have the recording posted on YouTube by the end of the week. I am Linda McDonald, one of the trainers here at Data Projections, and welcome to our October After School Special. I know that we have Gregg Elementary connected, and we're also expecting Alameda Elementary and I believe another campus to join us today. Don't forget that we have supporting resources for the Smart Response, particularly on our wiki. So if you look for dataprojections.pbworks.com, look for the October After School Special, you'll see some video tutorials on using Smart Response and some great resources for you to get ideas and share with teachers. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into updating your firmware. That's my portion to cover with you today. Firmware is the software piece that actually operates this board hardware. So why would you want to update your board firmware? Well, it generally seems to fix about 90% of the touch interactivity issues. So as your board begins to act flaky is the word that I like to use, often updating your firmware will resolve those issues. And we've seen that as we've upgraded to Smart Notebook 11, just seems that it just really wants a firmware upgrade, and it makes it run much smoother and happier. So how do I go about doing that? The first step is if you have a Bluetooth, you're going to want to hardwire. So if you're running the Bluetooth connectivity to a laptop or a computer, you're going to want to hardwire that laptop or computer directly to the controller box. And then you are looking for a small piece of software called the Smart, I love it when my stuff doesn't work when I'm on camera, the Smart Firmware Updater. One would think that that Smart Firmware Updater would be within the Smart Technologies folder, but no. So take some notes. I'm actually going to look on my C drive, so I'm going to go to the computer. Here's my C hard drive, and I'm looking for the program files. Once I find the program files, I'm going to scroll down. And I'm looking for the Smart Technologies folder, Smart Technologies. So that was C drive, program files, Smart Technologies, and then I have an education software folder. Once I get into that education software folder, I'm going to scroll down, and I'm looking for what's basically a small program file called Smart Firmware Updater. We've tried to actually use the search to find this. For whatever reason, it doesn't work. Once I double click that, it's going to walk me through a wizard. I have to make sure I'm hardwired to the board because it is going to disable the touch capability, so I'm going to have to run it and click through the screens on a computer. I won't be able to do it from the board, so I definitely want to make sure. And so I'm not going to actually run it for you because it's going to disable my interactivity. So again, that is C drive, program files, Smart Technologies folder, looking in the educational software folder, and then you're looking for a file, a .exe file, executable, called Smart Firmware Updater. And moving on, that's really all there is about updating the firmware. It'll walk you through and you're going to resolve, it's going to do its thing, should reconnect, and you're good to go.
Linda, if I might interject just a minute.
Please do, Mr. Teeter.
Hey, I'm not sitting there with you in case you hadn't missed me.
I did miss you.
I'm actually out at Johnston Middle School here in Houston. A couple of other things about the Smart Firmware Updater file. We have begun to find in some installations that the Smart Installer will actually place that in a folder called Drivers compared to the folder called Education Software. So if you don't see it in the education software, be sure and check and look for it in the drivers folder. Also, one more thing that you want to be prepared for is as you start to run the little wizard in that program, your board will not respond. You have to run the program and click next, next, next using your old-fashioned mouse that's connected to your computer. So just don't freak out when your board quits working, because that's how it runs the program. So just be prepared to click using your mouse on your computer.
Thanks, Mr. Teeter. And if you have any questions, we are an email away. Just let us know what questions you have, and we can see what we can do to help you with those. And with that, little tip on Firmware Updater, we're going to kind of make a transition into Smart Response. Wanted to make you sure that you guys were all aware that we do have an initiative within Data Projections. So it's basically a special for Smart Response. So we have a buy 3, get 1 free. So if you're already a user of Smart Response and it's something that you want to roll out in a bigger capacity in your campus, this is a great buy for you. If you buy 3 sets, we throw the 4th one in for free. We really, Gary and I believe very strongly, of course, since we're in the training department, we believe in training, but using those clickers is a very, very, very powerful way to assess your students and provide a level of instruction that we know that you desire in your classroom. So we do have a bundle that is buy a set of clickers and receive training as part of your purchase package, and it is at a discounted price. And then Gary will also talk about the VE version of Smart Response, and we have a buy 1 license, get 1 free that also includes training. So I believe that training is a huge key with using this tool appropriately in your classroom. Know again that we have supporting resources at dataprojections.pworks.com. One of the things I uploaded for you today is an amazing article I came across this week called 7 Keys to Effective Feedback, and it really talks about providing quality feedback to students, what gives great examples and non-examples. And I know one of the things that I felt like when I was reading through the article was, how do I find time to do this? I'm too busy grading papers. I'm too busy entering grades. And so we really believe that using the Smart Response is a tool that can help you provide some of that kind of feedback to give you time to provide the detailed, specific feedback that students are really seeking for learning improvement. So I'm going to turn it over to Gary, who's going to give you some details about the Smart Response systems and the clickers themselves. Take it away, Mr. Teeter.
Okay, thanks, Linda. You're right. The more we visit with teachers, the more they really feel the importance of getting accurate feedback from the students. You know, we've all been in that situation where the kids kind of start to doze off in class, and you don't really know if it's because they're bored, because they already understand what you're talking about, and they're just going to sleep because you're saying it over and over and over again, or are they falling asleep and drifting away because they don't have a clue what you're talking about and they're totally lost. And you know, so you ask the students, okay, does everybody understand what I'm talking about? And of course, everybody shakes their head. Sorry, everybody shakes their head and, you know, says yes. Well, that's usually just because they want you to move on and talk about something else. So I've visited with some teachers over the past few months that have been using some kind of clicker to gain feedback. And they always tell me that the most important thing they get from using it is that instantaneous feedback in the middle of the lesson, in the middle of the instruction. Yes, they're great for giving a test at the end of the week. The computer grades it, prepares the grades, gets them ready to import into your school district electronic grade book. I'm sorry, whether you're using GradeSpeed or whatever the software is that your district is using, it will work very, very well with those. But teachers continually feel the most important part of it is that immediate feedback that they get during the instruction. Many of you have clickers on your campus right now. Most of them that you already have been sitting in a box in the back room. The batteries are probably all dead. Nobody knows where the receiver is, and it probably hasn't even been questioned or anyone asked about it for years. And think just a second, if you will, why that is the case. Why are people not using it? And in most situations, it's because it's too clunky, too cumbersome. You have to learn a whole new piece of software in order to just turn them on. You have to do all kinds of assignments and programming on the clickers so that the responses go to the right student. These are all lots of reasons why people are not using their clicker sets, regardless of who makes it. Now, Smart is a little latecomer in the clicker world. They didn't start making clickers until about 3 or 4 years ago. And I think that was a real advantage on their part, because what they were able to do was go see what all of the other systems had and then take the best of all of them and build their own. For example, we know that in most situations, many products made by other companies, you'll find individualized clickers. They broadcast on different signals, and so that means that Sally has to come into the classroom and get the same clicker every day. And that works okay, except you oftentimes have a logjam at the front door because the students are digging through the box trying to find their specific clicker. You also find that if something happens to that clicker, the teacher has to go through a lot of programming and transferring of information so that Sally gets moved from clicker number 13, for example, over to clicker number 17, or whatever the case may be. With the Smart product, these are all exactly the same. What happens is that the students will actually log into it. And so that will make the connection based from any clicker back to the teacher computer. And there's no logjam at the front door because they can all go grab any clicker and it'll work. If you lose one or the school bus runs over it or something like that, all you have to do is grab another one and hand it to them. They log in and it picks up right where they left off. So that's one big advantage. Another advantage Smart went through with this is that sometimes these systems are set up on an infrared connection between the clicker and the receiver at the teacher desk. Infrared is what you use on your TV remote control. And you know, you can be sitting there changing channels, and then what happens when the dog walks in front of the TV? Well, it quits working. It has to have a direct line of sight between the clicker and the receiver. Smart saw immediately that that could be an issue, especially for the students in the back of the room. You know, we don't want them standing on their chair trying to hold the clicker up in the air so that it makes a connection. I'm sorry. So what Smart did was make theirs on radio frequency. That signal will bounce off the floor, the ceiling, the walls, and eventually hit the receiver up at the front. That means that students, when they are working, they can leave the clicker laying flat on their desk, and it works just as well as if they're standing up holding it up in the air. So that's really nice. Little things like on the back of it, in the battery compartment, it has a screw instead of a clip. So we find that the batteries are not disappearing and ending up in student devices as often as we were before. If the batteries do run down or disappear and walk away, it's nothing weird or exotic in there. It's a AA battery. So if you do have a situation where you need more batteries, a quick trip to Walgreens during your lunch break, and you're back in business immediately. Perhaps the best advantage that I've found with these clickers is that it runs in the notebook software. That means that from a smart board, with this plug-in applied to the notebook software, you have a whole additional set of buttons that you can use immediately without turning on any other software, without switching back and forth between one program and another. You're right there with it. You click, you add it, add a question, and away you go. So this was really, really a good thing that I think Smart had coming with them. The next thing I want to talk about is the different kinds of questions that you can ask with these. Before I do that, I want to be sure and let you know that we do have different models or versions of the clickers. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so that you can see this a little better. This is actually what we call our LE edition. It is designed for our non-readers. If you'll notice, you have colored buttons. There's only 5 of them. They have a white shape. There's a circle, a triangle, a square, a star, and a diamond on each of them. So this is for your non-reader students. When you have your software, your notebook software programmed for the LE edition, then all of your options automatically change, and as you're building your test and your questioning process, these will actually come up with only the 5 options that are available to this clicker. Another clicker that you have is our most popular. This is for primary and middle school. This is our PE version. It has a keyboard here. This has true, false, yes, no, short answer text. It has a way that you can type in a math response. And I'm going to think of the other format that we have here in just a minute. Linda, I can't see your board exactly. What is the true, false, yes, no? Oh, multiple choice. And then we also have what we call a multiple answer. Multiple answer is from the list below, name all 3 kind of thing. That's a multiple answer. You also have the ability to make any of those into what we call an opinion question. In other words, there's no right or wrong answer, but it's a great way to get feedback from the students. In other words, what's your favorite color? So they could do a text answer of blue or green or whatever, and that is automatically removed from the grading process of the program. That doesn't count as one of the graded questions. And so it's really, really very convenient. So that is our PE edition. There's also a larger handheld unit that is called our XE. It has a full keyboard on it, and it is designed for secondary and college. It has, like I say, a full keyboard with math symbols and science symbols. The text responses can also be up to, I think it's 100 characters in the short answer questioning process there. They also have a computer lab edition that the teacher station can send the questioning out to the individual computers. The students can sit there in the lab, enter their response, and it goes back to the teacher station. One of the newest versions that we have uses this little device right here. It's a cell phone. Smartphones now are everywhere. If you don't believe that, just ask the kids how many have one in their pocket. What you're going to see on what we call our VE edition, it is nothing more than a piece of software. It installs on the teacher computer. It's activated with a license, and if the teacher wants to ask a question, what happens is it generates a hidden website out there on the internet. It tells the teacher what that website is, and the students can navigate on their web device, whether it's a computer, whether it's a smartphone, an iPad, whatever the case may be. They can go to that hidden website and they will see a copy of the answer sheet. So all they have to do is type in their response, and that is automatically sent through the internet back to the teacher's workstation. So it's a really, really cool concept. I think we're going to see a lot more of this come to use in the next few years. as students are starting to bring their devices into the classroom. Out of all of this, again, as Linda mentioned earlier, I think you're really going to see the importance, however, of training. We do have a prerequisite for the clicker training. That prerequisite is that you have attended notebook training. The clicker information is an additional half day. What we teach in that class are things such as how to write a test, how to create a test, how to insert those questions into the middle of your lesson on the spur of the moment, on the fly, as they say. We also talk about how to import the student data. Most people use their student ID as the login for those clickers. Well, if you are a teacher that maybe sees several groups of students through the day, you could have several hundred students that you have to enter in a first name, a last name, and a student ID. And there's just a lot of opportunity for typos in that. Well, what you can do is actually import that information from your student attendance software or whatever the case may be. You can create a third-party file and then pull that back in, import it back into the system, and in a matter of probably about 15 to 30 seconds, you have your role built. We also have the reverse available to us. Once you have data in there on your test, you know, your 6 weeks test and your weekly test and all of that, and all of those grades there, you can export that data back to a third-party piece of software, something like maybe Excel or any kind of spreadsheet type software. Then we teach you in the class how to format that and make it look appropriate to import back into GradeSpeed or whatever software your school district uses for grading purposes. So by attending the class, we can save you literally hours and hours every week just on operating the software quickly and easily. And again, back where I started, that's why teachers aren't using the clickers they have. It's too much trouble, it takes too much time, it takes away from my other obligations to the classroom. And so if you're able to attend the training with it, then you understand quickly and easily how you can use it efficiently, effectively, and also use it to help the students. So it is a really, really handy tool. Like I mentioned, you have 6 different kinds of questions, any of which can be changed into an opinion question. Again, I want to remind you that we're running the special right now with our company. We believe in this product. We have teacher testimonials that we hear every day of what a cool thing it is. And so if you have any interest in something like this, maybe you already have a set and you just need the training. Super. Let us know. If you've got a quick question or something about it, let us know. That's what we're here for, and we'd love to help you.
All right, thanks, Mr. Teeter, for the information. Smart Response. I do want to add one more comment about Smart Response. They have begun adding, just like you can export data from the Smart Response teacher tool into your gradebook. If you have another tool that you use for data disaggregation, like I know KDISD uses Eduphoria's Aware tool. There's lots of them out there where you disaggregate data so you can figure out which questions students are having the most difficulty with. You can also often take that same CSV file and upload that data into that system, get them connected so that you're easily gathering information from students and then easily putting it in your disaggregation system. So again, make sure that you look for our supporting resources at dataprojections.pbworks.com, and we hope to see all of you again in November. Have a great week.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Gary. You have a good afternoon.